How are you and welcome to Bren NXT. Let's get into this week's NXT. The first match was Kalani Jordan versus Lola Voice, the winner by submission being Kalani Jordan. This was a very good match. Lola Voice selling that right hand injury was deadly too. Both women were brilliant here. Solid match to start NXT. Tony D'Angelo then spoke from the outside and talked about Dark State knowing that he was going after them, and tonight he was going to take care of Dark State, and that he kind of did, which we'll get into later on. We then cut to Ricky Saints, who was walking through the car park when Joe Hendry attacked him out of nowhere. Security broke it all up. And that was a little bit of a cool setup for the promo later on, which we'll talk about now in a few minutes. We then go to Shiloh Hill, who was being interviewed by Sarah Schreiber, say that 10 times fast, in the locker room area. Hill talked about how his mind was racing ahead of facing Ethan Page. Hank and Tank walked in, and after some talking, Hill shouted that he was ready to be champion. I like Hill. The last week was deadly. This week was cool too. On to the Joe Hendry and Ricky Saints segment. So they had a bit of a back and forward. There was a bit about it online, and they had a bit of a war of words. Ricky basically calling Joe a mem or Mimi, whatever it's called, saying he says the things that people want to hear, and his theme song kind of covers his weaknesses. I'm paraphrasing now at that stage. Ricky Saints looked good here, and Joe Hendry stayed very matter of fact and sounding, of course, like the fighting champion that he is. Is Ricky Saints going to the main roster soon? We'll see. Those are the rumours I'm hearing. The NXT Women's North American Champion Izzy Dame was talking to the Culling Sean Spears and Nico Vance. Dame said no matter what version of Tatum Paxley shows up at Vengeance, Dame's going to end her. Strong words from Dame. Spears and Vance talked about their winning their match today and becoming the tag team title #1 contenders. Dame sounded class here. Right, on to one of my favourites. Tony D'Angelo versus Cutler James with Dion Lennox. The winner by a pinfall was Tony D'Angelo. Tony battered Cutler. Spear and Spinebuster 2-minute job. And I love D'Angelo. And this was cool. But I think the spear actually, now that I think about it, is too widely used. It's getting a bit like the super kick. It was used again then after Dion Lennox attacked Tony. But Tony then, of course, came back with another spear on Dion. Tony then gave a power slam onto the steel steps and wanted to continue the hiding. But Cutler saved Dion from Tony D, who definitely wanted to do more damage there. D'Angelo continues to be one of the coolest guys on the roster. I love this guy. The NXT North American Champion, Ethan Page, had a backstage segment, and it's looking like Miles Bourne will be getting a title shot soon, as they did have a bit of a back and forward. The Vanity Project, Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes versus OTM, Lucien Price and Bronco Nima versus the Culling, Sean Spears and Nico versus Hank and Tank. The winners was the Vanity Project. The rules kind of went out the window for this one. It was chaotic insanity and a bit of a highlight for me. I loved it. The right team won as well, in my opinion. This match was fun. Definitely give it a watch. So next week on NXT, Dark State will defend the NXT Tag Team titles against the Vanity Project, which should be deadly. A video package then aired about Keanu Carver, which was really good. I love the crazy characters, and when he said NXT can't control him, it was deadly. He also said that Sean Legacy will be finding all about it next week, which is really cool. I do love the crazy characters. JC Jane and Sol Ruka had a face-to-face, and I loved this face-to-face. I don't think next week is predictable either, which is cool. Even with the promo, I wasn't even sure what Zarya was going to do here, but obviously she helped Sol here. But next week, we might get a Zarya turn costing Sol the win. If no turn, though, I do think Sol should 100% win. I love the fact that it's unpredictable, but I would love to see Sol win. Moving on to the WWE Speed Tournament Finals, Eli Knight versus Elio Lafleur. This match resulted in a draw. I'm not mad on speed matches, as I've said before, but I'm even less of a fan of draws in wrestling. With that result in mind, Robert Stone did come out and he did make a triple threat match for the speed title with I think it was a special 7-minute time limit. So the champ Jasper Troy versus versus Eli. Look, they should really drop this. I think the speed thing was a terrible idea from the start, so I'm not a big fan of it. And we actually have to touch on it now in a few minutes as well. Backstage now, where Uriah Connors and Charlie Dempsey talked about how they should be working together. But Dempsey isn't sure about working with Lexi King. Connors brought up their history, with Dempsey saying they used to roll around together as kids with their dads being mates. Lexis King and Stax and Ariana Grace walked up to Connors, who said he was working on talking to Dempsey. King said he talked to Stone, and Connors will face his old partner, Cale Dixon, next week. Connor said he's got this. I love this story. I love how it's progressing, and I can't wait to see this stable come together when it eventually happens. Back to the Speed Championship now on the women's side. Robert Stone was speaking to women's speed champion Fallon Henley about her defending the title soon. Blake Monroe then walked in. As Stone said, Jada Parker was suspended and also had that neck injury, which was probably from last week. Stone put Blake in the women's speed title tournament against Tia Hale. I don't like them adding Blake to that speed scene. I think they should get rid of it on all fronts. Not a fan of it at all. NXT North American Championship, Ethan Hill versus Shiloh Hill. The winner, of course, was Ethan Page. Very, very good main event. Expected nothing less. The Vanity Project did have to get involved to help Ethan retain. I wasn't mad on that. In saying that, Page was always winning, and the match in itself was decent. Page and the Vanity Project then attacked Shiloh Hill after the match. Bourne made the save. They cleared the ring. Hill hit a somersault dive and all on top of the three guys onto the floor. Bourne attacked Page and told Page to give him a title match. Hill tossed Bourne in a steel chair. Bourne put the steel chair on Page's left ankle and threatened to stomp on it. Page then said he'll give him a title match next week. Page said Page then said he knew Bourne wouldn't do it. Bourne stomped on the chair onto Page's ankle, so that should be interesting. Bourne posed over Page with the North American title too, which was a cool ending. Does Bourne take the title off Ethan? I doubt it, but I do think the setup was deadly. Now, all in all, NXT was very good again this week. The only real downer to me, as always, is the Speed Championships, but that could just be me. Anyways, what did you think? I know that was a quick one, but do let us know. Also, subscribe to the channel for all the wrestling and football videos. The shows are weekly. There's new videos every day. The content is top of the pops. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'll see you all on the next video. And yeah, I'll see you all then. Thanks a million.